Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Your Edge in Real Estate. I'm Cindy Joseph, and I am so excited today because we are meeting with the awesome and talented Michelle Humes out of Atlanta, Georgia. And she really has built a dynamic team. So I'm so honored to have Michelle as a guest on our show today. Hi, Michelle.
Good morning, Cindy. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. The weather is beautiful. It's getting a little bit cooler here, and I'm just so honored to have you on this morning.
So happy to be here.
So I know I have my coffee next to me too. I'm like, okay, let's get this party started.
Nice coffee going.
That's right. Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you so much for coming on the show. You are just an icon, and just amazing what you're doing there in your market. So, I'm always fascinated to learn the stories about all of our, top agents and top teams across the country. So do you mind just sharing with us a little bit about your journey?
Sure. Well, I am a teacher, a former teacher. I come from a family of teachers. All my aunts and my mom were teachers. And about 21 years ago, I met my now husband, who is actually an opera singer. And so we got engaged, got married, and I quit my teaching job, moved to Manhattan. And right after that, he got an opportunity to go sing in Munich, Germany. And so what we thought was going to be a 2-year commitment in Germany, in a 500 square foot apartment, turned into actually 12 years of us staying in Germany. So super fascinating. Obviously, that's a life-changing experience. Very uncomfortable at times, very hard at times, but a lot of very interesting travel journeys that we've taken. And when we moved back here, my teaching license had lapsed, and what am I going to do? I was pregnant with our second little girl.
Yes.
And I really wanted to find my spot. And my girlfriend said, there's a Groupon for a $200 real estate license. I think you should think about getting into real estate. I don't know. Maybe. Let me check it out. Well, 8 weeks later, I was licensed, about to have our second baby. And that was right before, just at 2015. And the rest is history. It's just been off to the races since then, and lots of exciting growth, lots of hard growth, lots of bumps along the road. But I'm so glad I took the journey and was brave enough to do that, and utilize my teaching skills a lot in real estate, which is one of the things that I'm most proud of, is being able to do that. So.
Wow, what a fascinating story. So literally around the world. So
Yes.
Spending time in New York to then going over to Munich, Germany. And wow, that is an incredible story. I did see that on your site, and I was like, wow, I feel so honored. I'm with a singer, and so, married to an international opera singer. So what a great story. And here you are from a $200 Groupon. Let's go for it and get the license.
Yeah. I think there's something interesting to be said for, I think this is what holds a lot of agents back, is getting ready to get ready until it's perfect. And I've just never been like that. I think it probably came from being married to an artist for so long, and just knowing that things weren't going to be perfect all the time. When you don't speak Russian, or you don't speak Italian, or you don't speak French, and you're lost. That kind of lifestyle and that sort of nomadic way of living actually lent itself for success that I've had. And that, and just always being open to doing things differently and better, and being coachable, and that has been a huge part of our success as a team.
Yeah, that's interesting. We talk with a lot of agents, especially those, that are thinking about getting their license. And I think you hit it right on. We sometimes overanalyze and really try to figure out, what's the perfect opportunity and perfect moment. And, you have to all the stars aligned, and it's like, just go for it, get in there and do it.
I do make mistakes because of that. And sometimes they're expensive mistakes. But because we've grown, and so now when I go for something and then it doesn't work, it's typically a lot more expensive than it was just me being in business.
Right.
But you know what? I'd rather do it that way and learn than never taking the chance. And so it was kind of like that when we came to EXP. I said, what's the worst that could happen? We hate it, we leave. fine, because there was a stigma around it, and certainly in our local market. And I just thought, well, if it stinks, I'm willing to say, oh, that was a terrible mistake. Oh, I'd never do that again. And here we are, just over 2 years later, and it just wasn't. And so, yeah, it's been a really fun, interesting ride to individual agent from 2015 to just starting a team 3 years ago, and where we're at today.
Wow, I love it. So I want to touch on a couple of things. So obviously your journey coming over to EXP. Now you've been with the company for 2 years. I actually joined about, I guess, 14 months ago, and it's having that mindset, like, what's the worst thing that can happen, right? We say, oh, that was a bad idea, and let's go back to doing what we were doing before. So how would you say, Michelle, in the last 2 years, joining EXP, what impact has that made with you, personally, and then of course with your business and your team?
Well, my personal impact, which I think is the number one thing about why people should come to EXP, is that EXP is full of abundant people, abundant mindset, abundant thinkers. And when you surround yourself with abundant thinkers, especially people who think way bigger than you, gosh, it's so interesting how much your world can grow and expand just because you're around that. And so proximity to people like that was really important to me. And it's not to say other companies don't have a lot of abundant mindset people. They do. I know that. But it's just something very interesting that because of our world, and I mean our virtual world that we're able to be in, we have access to people. You and I have access to each other when we really wouldn't have at a different company. And so we find out better ways to do things more efficiently, quicker, stronger, all of those things. So that's really the impact just in my mindset, the abundant mindset and thinking anything is possible. That's been huge for not only myself, but for our team. Figuring out that there is a much bigger world out there and not being afraid of being a small fish. When we came to EXP, I was a very small fish and still am comparatively to a lot of things people are doing. But you know what? I want to go hang around the biggest fish because I want to be like them.
Yeah.
And I want to aspire. I've been in the business a lot less time than most people.
Yes.
Sometimes that gives me a great edge, and sometimes it's something that I still get to be learning from. But that impact of abundant mindset is huge. For the team, our team has, when we came to EXP, we sold that year under 50 million, like 40 something $million when we came to EXP. And this year we're on track to sell 100 and I thought it'd be 25. It might be a little bit closer to 115 million.
Wow.
And so, you got to think to yourself, gosh, you get in the right place at the right time with the right people and boom, what can happen? So that impact of just our growth, our agents having passive income, having stock in the company, earning revenue share. We're not just selling houses anymore. We're building a way to not have to forever be showing homes. And yes, we love to show homes. That's our big business. And I think that's a huge misconception about EXP is that it's not full of big producers. And I got news for people. It is full of big producers. I mean, we're living proof of it. So, our agents, watching them just have these different ways to earn money and get their time back with their family. I just think, why else are we working so hard? So it's been really great.
I love it. And just to think, so you said a couple of things. You said, when you came over, you were that small fish in this huge pond. And as you said that, I got goosebumps because I was like, that was me. I was this big fish, when I was at my last brokerage, and, I felt like, oh, I know everything. And then I thought, no, I really don't. There's so much that I don't know and that I need to learn and really expand my mindset. And I will say though, Michelle, you are definitely not a little fish. So you have done some amazing things. I've actually watched, I always like to look at, just performance and just talking to other leaders, and your name always comes up. So, just know that you are doing amazing things, and to think that you've really, tripled your business in just 2 short years. I mean, that is really an incredible job. And that speaks to your leadership and the coaching that you're providing. So.
Well, thank you. I think leadership is a really funny thing. I had not really thought much about leadership. I was told as a kid, you're a leader. My mom was really good about always building me up, and probably why I'm crazy enough to think I can do some of the things I do now. So thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
But leadership is such an interesting journey. I can't tell you the highs and lows I have been through as finding my way as a leader. And if anybody sits around and says leadership is not brutally difficult, then I don't know. I'd love to talk to them, because it can be one of the most high, you can have the highest of the highs and the lowest
Yes.
of the lows within moments of each other, just like real estate. I think it's very similar. And so really expanding and growing a business has been an incredible journey for me. One that you must at all times look in the mirror and say, everything in this organization that is happening is a direct reflection of my leadership. And when that bad stuff is going on, that is not such a fun thing to do. But you know what? Extreme ownership and owning the results of a business and of the people that you're around has been one of my key moments of success, and where I think, gosh, I'm not embarrassed to say I screwed up. I'm just not. You
Yeah.
can't be and build a big life and big business. And that's really taken me really far, and so much further to go. There's so much further to go to learn and to grow. So
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes it's hard, right, to admit that you've made a mistake, or that perhaps, if something has, in your eyes failed with your team, it's tough to say, wow, it's a direct reflection of what I am or what I'm not providing. So I know I've learned that along the way too with my team, and it's always your ebbs and flows, right? Some days are phenomenal. You're on this biggest high, and then the next day you get a call from one of your, top agents that says, "Hey, I think I'm going to try this on my own." And it's like, oh, no, don't leave.
it was so interesting you say that. I was just talking to someone this morning about that, and the perception of, because people do leave teams, and people come to teams for a certain reason, and people
Yes.
leave teams for a certain reason, and the attrition that is normal. It's just normal in team environment, and explaining that to our team and making sure they understand. But something I started doing when teammates left us, because it's hard. It's hard
Yeah.
when people leave. Sometimes it's the right choice, either on my side or their side, because we're no longer in alignment. I mean,
Right.
all the time it works out, but I really became very intentional about just wishing and praying and hoping the best for anybody that comes into business with me and leaves, that they just leave a better agent, a better
Yeah.
mom, a better, because of the time we spent together. And, if that's the impact I can have on someone, I have succeeded, no matter what's said afterwards. Because there is this, our industry, unfortunately, very real right now, is not always known for being the best of the best and the up and up,
Right.
and living in such a gracious and honorable way. And I know why. It's hard to live paycheck to paycheck for all of us. That's a difficult thing. But at the end of the day, if I can make a positive impact on someone or help them learn something, then I've succeeded. So
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So, in the last, 3 years when you built your team, is there anything, if you kind of look back and you're like, man, I wish I would have done this, or, had I done this in the very beginning, maybe, this is where we would be. Obviously, you've done some incredible things, but, sometimes we have those aha moments where we're like, if only. Do you have any of those?
yes, I have several. So number one, great question. Number one, never stop recruiting talent to your team, because one of the biggest mistakes I made early on was counting on just a few select people to do the business. And then if one of those people leaves, the job got handed back to me. And that, not that I couldn't do the job, or I wanted to do the job,
Right.
I couldn't do the job, but it set us back in our growth, because I didn't have a bench of talent sitting there ready to go in. And so the number one thing I wish I had started sooner was always looking for new talent, whether it's on staff, whether it's agents, and that's a full-time job. So that
Yes.
is hard to sometimes do, but never stopping looking for that next great talent to be able to contribute to the team. That's the biggest thing. And then the other thing I would say is, every single time I've made a really good hire, and I haven't made all great hires,
Right. Same.
but every single time I've made a really good hire, I always say to myself, I wish I had done this sooner.
Mhm.
And that also, there's a lot of reasons for that, right? What are the reasons why we don't hire sooner? We're worried about, can we afford their salary? We're worried that we're going to make a mistake, and then you look silly because you didn't hire the right person. Or worse, you have regression in whatever department that is because you make the wrong hire. And then the ultimate that can happen, that I think leaves many of us in paralysis all the time. What if they're not a culture fit?
Right.
It only takes one bad apple to make things absolutely go down the drain. And so you sit there and you think,
Yeah.
I'll just hire no one,
Yeah.
but I always, when it's a good hire and they contribute to the business and then they're pushing me to make good decisions and to move the business forward, I always think to myself, gosh, that was great. I should have done that sooner.
Yeah, I love that. As you're speaking, I'm like, yeah, 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 that's me. And I think sometimes you over analyze, when you meet with people, because especially when it comes to the culture aspect, I'm like, gosh, I just don't know. And so sometimes I'm a little slow to kind of, pull the trigger and make that next step. And then before you know it, they're gone. They're, a different brokerage. And you're like, man, I had one that I did that probably about a year ago, and this agent is a rock star. I've been following and I say jokingly stalking him. And I'm like, man, I wasn't sure. So I didn't move forward. So I appreciate you sharing that and, your openness on that. Sometimes you just got to go for it. So, so when you're recruiting agents and you're, talking with agents and kind of going through that process, what's kind of been your best avenue? How do you find people?
For the team?
Yes.
I would say, really, this is my favorite way to do it because I trust and adore our teammates. So you will find me always saying, I don't know if this is the teacher of me, but you will always find me saying the exact same thing week after week after week because it's consistent. And then the agent, sometimes you're not ready to hear something when it's being said the first time, but you might hear it a different way the next time. So I always ask our agents for someone that they know is like them. I say, who do you know that's like you? Because we innately know our agents, because I'm not in production. So I'm not having the opportunity to meet new agents like they are in real estate deals, but they know what is important to them and they know why they stay here. And so they go out and look for those and then they send them to me. And that has been our best way of finding talent. Now we do run ads and we're always looking for talent. And I've had some fantastic people walk through the door who just saw the sign. So just visibility in our marketplace as well has lent itself to us finding incredible people. In fact, 18 months ago, a guy named Steven Saltel walked through my door and had another full-time sales job. And he had been to every single brokerage in town to ask how everything worked. And had never been in real estate before. In fact, he hadn't even passed his test. And so 2 days later, he showed back up. He said, okay, I passed my test. I'd like to join your team. But he was really dry and like not much sense of humor. And I'm like, okay, who is this guy? He now runs our whole sales force because it was the right move and he's the right person. And that has a ton to do with our development and growth as well, because I found a key player to help us motivate and move the business forward.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's the thing. You just never know, right? When you initially meet someone, you kind of get like this gut feeling, but sometimes you don't know. And, with your background and, teaching and coaching and your leadership style, it's amazing what an impact it can have on the right person. So,
especially people that are open. I think, being open to feedback I don't say very much on a recruiting appointment or an agent attraction, however you want to call it, appointment interview. I say very little. I say, we have a couple of rules around here. We don't do drama because our business is dramatic enough to have drama in our office. That's number one. And number two, we're open to feedback because when you're open to things are going to happen in this business. They just are. We're all going to make mistakes.
yes.
We're not always going to get along. We're like a family. Things are going to we have dysfunction in our team, but I'm real upfront about that. Because I think one of the biggest mistakes brokers or team leaders can make is pie in the sky or saying, yeah, you're going to make $100,000 here. No, we're going to give you the tools to be able to have unlimited income, but it's all going to be up to you and open and how willing you are to being open to feedback when things don't go exactly as they could have.
I love that. I love that. Setting the right expectations, just really telling it how it is, right? I think that's the misconception in our industry is that it's so easy and you're just opening up doors and you're making tons of money. And you're like, okay, let's talk about the real skinny of what you're going to experience every single day. So
I don't think people understand. I know I didn't. And every time I have somebody come to our team brand new and they're really successful, I say, hey, did you think that this is what it was going to be like? And they're like, no, it's so much harder. I had no idea. And it's typically when their deal is falling apart, 48 hours before it's set to close.
Yeah.
And it's just a very steep learning curve, real estate. And because it's people, we're in the people business. It's people.
Yeah.
And people are complicated.
Yes.
And great all at the same time.
Yeah.
And terrible sometimes.
And terrible sometimes, for sure. I love it. So okay, I have to ask you as we wrap this up, what's one thing that not very many people know about Michelle Humes?
Oh gosh.
I want to share on this live session.
Oh, can you tell that these questions were not set ahead of time?
I know, right? You're awesome. I love it.
Okay, I have a couple.
Okay.
I have a couple. Number one, I did not have a work visa in Europe to work, so I had to do odd jobs when we lived there. I got it eventually. I did end up getting it eventually, but I had to do I cleaned houses and I just did anything so we can make ends meet. But that's not the fun part. The thing I did that's super interesting is I was a hair model on Home Shopping Network.
What?
A curler model. So that's so fun.
Oh, how cool!
That's number one. The number. Let's see. I will toot my own horn for a second.
Please do.
I'm a fabulous cook. I love to cook. That's what I do in all of my spare time. And entertain. I love to entertain people. What else? My husband's a Grammy winner. That's pretty cool. He was the star of the show for the first 15 years of our marriage, and now we've sort of done a role reversal. He's kids.
I love it.
And even though I'm in the background of his singing career, that is how we met. So I am a classically trained singer. And that's something that I hope as this business continues to grow that I can get back to and do some fun things with my husband singing. So
I would love to hear y'all. So you guys, are you going to be at EXPCon?
We are not going to make it this time, but we really want to record an album together because we just don't sing together anymore. And that's really something that we're super passionate about. We keep waiting to see if either of our children are going to be artists, but I think that they didn't, they lived on the road forever. So I don't know if they will or not. We'll see.
I love it. Well, you are just a delight. You are so fascinating, and congratulations on the success that you have already created and built. And man, I can't wait to actually meet you in person and, continue to learn from you. So I really appreciate you coming on the show this morning.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It was really fun. Glad we could do it.
Yes, ma'am. You're awesome. Stay warm. Enjoy that beautiful Atlanta area, and talk with you soon.
Thanks, Cindy. Take care.
Michelle. Bye-bye.